I'm going to start with the thing that I connected with first. And can you unpack what this meant to you, which was the black line approach?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that's super near and dear to my heart. And so for all the athletes in the house, this might be something that is going to resonate really well with you. But I actually swam competitively for 22 years and specialized in the mile. So for those of you guys who know swimming, you know that that is the longest possible race you can swim in a competition. And it actually just became a Olympic event for females not long ago, I believe 8 years ago. So 2 Olympics ago. So when I was actually training, it wasn't even in the Olympics, but it was a college race that I swam. Short course yards, it is 66 laps. Long course, which is the Olympic size pool, it is 30 laps. So it is the longest race that you can train for. Or for me, for 22 years, that black line on the bottom of the pool really was more than just a marker for me. It truly became my companion. And that sounds kind of silly, but every lap I knew that it was always going to be there and it was always something I could count on. So the black line for me served as a focal point. And really, if you guys think of like a visual metronome of something you can follow, that kept me focused. It kept each stroke and turn calibrated so that I could get into a rhythm of what I was doing. Really gave me a very clear, direct path and very purposeful lane, if you will, so that I could ultimately accomplish my goal, which was to complete the 66 laps or the 30 laps of the mile race. So just like anything, when you enter a race, having a strategy is super pivotal. So much like planning content and doing engagement on Instagram, it's really all about understanding when to send messages, when to not, how to conserve energy if you're in the middle of planning for this race, when to push on the gas pedal, and really just being able to listen to the feedback of your audience and adapting as necessary. And as a swimmer swimming the race, right, you have to learn how to adapt to what your body is telling you as you're in the middle of it. So for me, every lap in the pool really mirrored the consistent, persistent effort that I knew I needed to create and maintain to thrive on Instagram, which is my platform of choice. But it really helped me stay super aligned with my goals. It helped me measure progress. And really, ultimately, I knew that if I just followed that black line on the bottom of a pool, I would get to the other side. I would flip turn and I would turn around and keep going until I completed all 66 laps. So it gave me the confidence to say, as long as I follow the plan, as long as I keep going in the direction that I'm supposed to be going in, and I get to the other side where the T tells me to do a flip turn on the bottom line or on the bottom of a pool, then I'm good, right? Like I know I'm going to finish. And so the black line approach concept is really all about how do we create a black line approach to what we're doing for social media or what we're doing with Instagram, and how does that create an opportunity for prospecting, right? Like what does that mean? And so when I developed the concept of the black line approach, it really was, do we have a lane? Do we have structure? Do we have something that we can follow? Kind of a checklist, if you will, of if I do this and I do that, I will accomplish Y.
Yeah, and
So
I think that's why it resonated with me so much because, and this is your first challenge from this conversation, realtors, lenders, leaders, CEOs. What is your black line approach? And the reason I ask that is because I know I've been in this business at a high level for a very long time, and I've masterminded with some of the best top producers east to west coast, some of the best owners and CEOs, and there isn't an approach, let alone a black line approach. And everybody's had a really difficult 2 years. I mean, we're 2 years into adversity, and even then you would think that having an everyday, every lap approach that's the same, like you said, it helps me know exactly where I'm going, when I need to turn, stay on course. I would imagine if you didn't have that, you might drift.
yep.
And we're 2 years into adversity, and we still don't have black line approaches at running our businesses. Now, you talked about it in the context of like a black line approach for social media, which I love. I'm saying, guys, you should wake up every day and have a black line approach to know exactly what you're going to do for those 8 hours.
Sure.
Guys, you run a business. You're running a business, whether you're a realtor or a lender. And when I say, what's your business plan, and you don't have one, you wouldn't do that in any other business in America. You wouldn't go start, selling jeans or shoes or cars and not have a business plan. But for some reason in our space, and I'm getting up in your grill a little bit because I love you guys, but it's accepted to not have a black line approach or a business plan. So that's the first check to go, you know what, Hills and Michelle are right. I don't think I have a black line approach.
Good.
Cool. Don't stop there, at least to be able to admit it, but then go and develop a black line approach that every single day, every single lap, you're going to do the exact same thing. And it's probably going to be more offensive related because right now people aren't finding a lot of listings, or closings. And so it's going to be a little bit more offense related this year. And in times in like 2020, it was more like back, we had a ton of loans. And so it was more about how do I get the loans through? So I love the black line approach. Honestly, we could nerd on that for like an hour or so, because I just think it's a huge need.
You'll just have to wait for the book, Ryan. That's all I
Right,
gotta
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and guys, you could actually connect with Michelle and her company, and it's not just a conversation. Like if you're finding a lot of value in this, and you'll see there's a couple other topics we'll talk about, you can actually connect with them and mastermind and coach with them. So it's not just, like the conversation doesn't stop here. You can connect with them. And again, we'll put that connection down below.
Ryan, if I can piggyback off of you, because I just had a moment, like a thoughtful moment that I don't want to lose, which is I think the black line approach ties into our daily activities, but also I really think it ties into our business model as a whole. So you mentioned business planning, and I think that that's so important, right? Everybody typically creates one at the start of the year. They're like, I'm having my business planning meeting for the new year. But I also want to like pull the curtain back and say, like, what's your value ladder, right? And how does that change over time as the seasons change, right? So like I know, and Ryan, for yourself or for your business and for what you're doing, like I know that if I do this one thing all the time, that creates this opportunity. If I do this all the time, that creates this opportunity, right? And so like my value ladder is so dialed in. I know exactly what I have to do every single month in order to create the next result that I want, which then in turn creates the next result that I want. And ultimately leads me to stages and in the process right now of starting to write a book, because Coach Bill gave me 90 days. So every day I wake up and I know exactly what I have to do to create the result that I want. And it keeps me laser focused. And I think what happens in the mortgage and the real estate space, and myself included over the years, is we get this idea, oh, I want to do this fun new thing because it'll like change it up, right? But the reality is that the best entrepreneurs or the best business owners in the world do one thing really, really freaking well over a very long period of time. And I think that that's where, for me, the black line approach comes into play, with not just what I do every day in my day-to-day, but actually why I do the specific things that I do in that everyday moment.
Yeah, I think the one thing, there's a lot of value on this already, but the one thing, and you're right, great leaders, top performers figure out, and that's a tough process to figure out what's your great one thing. What's the saying? You would probably know better. Master of none. How's that go? Somebody help me out.
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody, who knows? Somebody Google it.
Yeah, Eric. I know Eric's looking behind me. Yeah, but yeah, you're trying to do all things, and you're average, huh? Jack of all trades, master of none. Thanks, Eric.
Here we go.
But and Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this too. Like, find that one thing, and just pour gas on it. Just pour gas on it. Josh Metal. We're both, Renee Rodriguez, Amplify, alumni, and Mega Metal was in my group, Josh Metal, and he found his one thing, doctor loans, years ago, and just poured gas on it. There's so many examples, guys, of finding the one thing. And the one thing oftentimes is things that you love. It's not like a grind of a job. It's like, I'm really passionate about helping doctors, so this doesn't feel like a job to me. And then you go find a ton of success. So I'll encourage you and double down what you said. Like, find that one thing, go pour gas on it, thank her later, and go, hey, looking back a year later, I love my job now because I found my one thing, and I'm doing it every single day.